Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, here at Ivy Talks Podcast Network, we're doing a subscriber giveaway. We'll be doing a giveaway on the 1st and the 15th of every month for $50 for a random subscriber. All you have to do to enter is subscribe, comment on any video, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. And once you do it once, you're entered for life. And it's going to be on the 1st, 15th of every month. A random subscriber will be chosen to win $50. As you grow, that money will go up. So go ahead, subscribe, comment to enter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the WNBA coverage. We are getting into the full swing of the season, so we're going to break it down like usual. We're going to go over the standings, East and West, some statistical leaders, and then we have different like shout-outs, performance reports, etc., etc. So we're going to get straight into it. The East, we have at number 1, New York Liberty, number 2, Atlanta Dream, number 3, Indiana Fever, 4, Washington Mystics, 5, Chicago Sky, 6, Connecticut Suns. In the West, we have at 1, Minnesota Lynx, Phoenix Mercury at 2, Seattle Storm at 3, Golden State Valkyrie at 4, Las Vegas Aces at 5, LA Sparks at 6, Dallas Wings are at 7. Statistical leaders, points per game, 24.4, Nafisa Collier for the Minnesota Lynx. Rebounds per game, Angel Reese at 11.7 for Chicago Sky. Assists per game, Alyssa Thomas at 9 for the Phoenix Mercury. Steals per game, we have Gabby Williams for the Seattle Storm at 2.7. Blocks per game, Aja Wilson of Las Vegas Aces at 2.6. Field goal percentage, Aaliyah Boston from Indiana Fever at 59.4%. 3-point percent, we have Lexi Hull at 56.7 for the Indiana Fever. Free throw percentage, we have Caleb McBride at 95.2% for the Minnesota Lynx. And minutes per game, Ryan Howard at 36.1 minutes per game for the Atlanta Dream. And turnovers per game, Angel Reese, Chicago Sky, 3.9. So looking at the standings, as we can see, Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, New York Liberty. New York Liberty obviously started off the season hot. Same with the Minnesota Lynx. I think those two are probably staying there. Atlanta Dream's closing the gap between the New York Liberty. They're 2 games behind. But with the Minnesota Lynx in the West, they are 3 games ahead of the Phoenix Mercury. Golden State Valkyrie and the Las Vegas Aces are tied there at 4 and 5. Obviously, we see some movement going up. Dallas Wings only with 2 wins. Connecticut Suns only with 2 wins. And obviously with that Connecticut Suns, we talked about them pretty much gutting their team and basically rebuilding, getting rid of a lot of their core, kind of messed up the whole flow they had going last year, being that they finished like top 2 or 3 in the league last year. So real quick, some awards we want to shout out. Shout out Coach of the Month for the month of May. It's been a minute since I had to skip a week for the episodes, but the coach for New York Liberty, Sandy Brandello, I hope I'm saying that right. New York Liberty's coach got Coach of the Month for the month of May. Rookie of the Month for the month of May. Washington Mystics, Kiki Iferin. She averaged 13 points per game, 10 rebounds, and an assist. And we have, I think Washington Mystics is the East. And I forget who got the West Rookie of the Month. But those are some awards. And then we're going to have some performance alerts. Obviously, performance alerts, just shouting out people that had great games. Obviously, I'm not going to get everybody because the list would be so long because it's, every game for the weeks go by once a week. So I'm not going to get every person. And there's some games that happened yesterday I'm not going to get. Like Sabrina Osku had another 30-point game for them in their victory that they had yesterday. But these are just some quick shout-outs for performance alert. Ryan Howard for the Atlanta Dream, 36 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 9 made threes, ties the WNBA record for made threes. I believe Sabrina Osku has had the record now. She's tied with Sabrina Osku at 9 with 47.4% from 3. And with the helps Atlanta Dream get a win over the Chicago Sky. Jackson for the LA Sparks, 30 points, 7 points, 7 assists, 1 rebound, 50% from the 3, 4 of 8. And that gets them the win over the Las Vegas Aces. And then we'll talk about Aces a little bit later. Paige Buckets, Dallas Wings, had in her debut back. She missed 4 games. But her game back from injury, she drops 35.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 68.4% from the field, 13 of 9, 5 for 7 from 3, 71.4%. But they do lose to the Mercury, but she plays well coming back from injury. Another person coming back from injury, Caitlin Clark, who's missed a couple weeks. Her game back, she goes 32 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, a steal, 2 blocks, 50% from 3, and the Indiana Fever in that game hands New York Liberty their first loss of the season with Caitlin Clark's debut back from injury. Alicia Gray, Atlanta Dream, 32 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 10 of 14 from the field, 71.4%, 6 of 9 from 3, 66.7%. The Atlanta Dream hits 18 threes at 42% from the three-point line, one shy of the New York Liberty's record of 19 threes in a single game. Obviously, the Atlanta Dream gets the dub there. And, yeah, we had a lot of great performances. So, but quick injury reports. Vandersloot for Chicago Sky will miss the remainder of the season from a torn ACL. So that's going to be a big hit for Chicago Sky. Another injury report, for Las Vegas Aces, Agent Wilson was placed on concussion protocol. So she's probably going to be out. She was set on concussion protocol late last week, so she'll probably be back here in the next couple games. It's been about a week. Concussion protocol is about a week of non-activity is usually what it goes for, depending on severity. So I assume she'll be reevaluated probably today or the next couple days, and then she'll be back soon. But yes, we're getting in there. Commissioner's Cup is going on. The Commissioner Cup Finals has been set. The team that won for the West is the Minnesota Lynx, and the team that won for the East is the Indiana Fever. So the Commissioner Cup is going to be the Indiana Fever versus Minnesota Lynx. I believe Minnesota Lynx also was in it last year. I don't remember who won. Minnesota might have won, but I think it was, I don't remember. But we have that coming up. I think that they have that coming up. The one thing I will say about the WNBA, I think they should do a little bit more marketing into the Commissioner Cup play, because it's been kind of hard to follow which games are, because the way it's set up, it's kind of like the in-season tournament for the NBA, but whatever they call it. But it's kind of set up the same, where you don't really know what games are counting towards the Commissioner's Cup and what games aren't. I wish they did a better job of marketing and had active brackets during marketing active brackets or commercials and showing who's ranked who or where. I literally, luckily I follow the WNBA on Instagram, and I saw that the Minnesota Lynx and the Indiana Fever are the East and West champs for the Commissioner Cup, so they're going to play each other for the title. But besides that, I wouldn't have known, because I'm not, I don't really know what games count, because not every game they play counts towards that Commissioner's Cup. Because I do know, I believe it's got to be this team in the same conference. So that's a factor, this, that, and the third. But anyway, that's also going to be something we'll be talking about next episode, the winner of the Commissioner's Cup. And as these teams continue to separate themselves in the standing, I think it's going to get very interesting, because Las Vegas Aces are 5-6, Golden State Valkyrie are 5-6, Seattle Storms 7-5. And so as we know how the playoffs work, as we know, I know we're early, but as the playoffs work, instead of East versus West, it's just the top 8 teams in the league. So it's just overall standing. Where you rank in the East versus West doesn't necessarily matter. It matters to an extent, but really what matters is your overall ranking. So your New York and Phoenix, that's the 1 and 2 spot. Or New York and the Minnesota Lynx, that's the number 1 and number 2 spot, 1 team from each conference. So if you're a middle of the pack team in your conference, there's a chance that the other conference has better records, because let's say it's a more dominant conference, that those teams could take up those spots. So there is a chance where New York Liberty gets in at 1, and then Minnesota Lynx gets in at 2, and then it could be the rest of another conference. Even though you might be 3rd or 4th in your conference, the rest of your other conference could potentially. It's this weird thing where it's not set up by conference, it's overall record. So teams like Las Vegas Aces, Golden State Valkyrie, Washington Mystics, Indiana Fever, that are kind of middle of the pack in both the East and the West, those teams, it's going to be very interesting, as we saw last year with Chicago Skies, Atlanta Dream, and the Indiana Fever were in an absolute dogfight for that last spot because they all had the same record going into the last week of the season. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it literally came down to the last game of the season. I believe it was Indiana Fever and Chicago Sky. Whoever won that one was going to the playoffs, and Indiana Fever ended up winning it. So I think we're going to see something similar to that. But obviously, I'm a Las Vegas Aces fan. I'm an LA Sparks fan. So I want to see those teams do well. But we will be keeping an eye on those middle-of-the-pack teams as the season continues, because that is where the excitement is going to be. But again, this has been another episode of the WNBA coverage. We'll catch you guys next time.